morning, church. Since I was a little girl, I can remember my mom always looking for God. Wherever they told her that God was, she would go. So we were religious. We had a religion. We went to church every Sunday. But then we went to other places where, people will tell her, well, God is here, and she will go, God is there, and then she will take us all. Years later, many, many years later, when we came to this country, my little sister was invited to a church. And she came home, and this is the words that she used. She told my mom, Mom, I found what you've been looking for all your life. And then she took my mom with her the next day. And when my mom came back from that place, she was completely a different person. Her and my sister. It was a radical change. I didn't understand it because we were religious, and all of a sudden they decided to go to a different church. And I didn't understand what was going on. And then she started reading the Bible. And she started telling me that Jesus was coming soon, that there was going to be a trumpet sound, and that only those that accepted Jesus in their heart will be able to hear it, and that two will be together, and one will be taken, and the other one will be left. And I told them, they have totally brainwashed you. What is wrong with you guys? What are you guys reading? What are they telling you there? We've never read that in the Bible. We've been religious and we never read in the Bible that kind of thing. So I just thought, they were going crazy. And I even told them, the Bible doesn't say that. I think they're giving you a different Bible, because we had a huge Catholic Bible on our TV that we really never read. But, it couldn't be the same Bible. And so my mom came home one day with a Bible, and she gave it to me, and she highlighted a bunch of scriptures, right? And I'm like, I'm not gonna read that, because that's not the real Bible. This is the Bible, right? But then they will go to church, and I will stay home, and then I will open the Bible that she gave me, and saw the scriptures that were highlighted. So then I went to the Bible that I was on top of the TV and looked for the same scriptures. And to my surprise, it was exactly the same thing. So then I realized, okay, well, that is not a different Bible. But anyways, I was very rebellious because my sister, she wouldn't let my sister go to parties with me anymore. And she wouldn't want me to go because I couldn't go alone. But I love to party. I love to go and dance and, have fun. And I couldn't go, so I got really rebellious. And I kept going on my own, and this went on for, maybe a couple of years. So this one time I wanted to go to a nightclub, and they didn't want me to go, but I wanted to go, and I said, only because she can go with me and you guys are hallelujahs, and I called them other things. That doesn't mean that I can't go. And so I'm going to go. So I went, I left. But by this time, I have heard enough of the word of God and what they were telling me that to me it was impossible. How we're going to hear a trumpet and then God is going to take us. But that was in my heart already. So I remember going to this nightclub, and it was during the disco time, and so there was lights and and music, and I was dancing, and all of a sudden I thought in my head, well, if Jesus comes right now, I'm not going to go. He's not going to take me. But my mom and my sister, they're going to be gone. And so I left. I was dancing. I was in the middle of the dancing floor. I don't know who I was dancing with. I left them there, and I ran out of the place. And I got in my car. And all the way home, I was, God, please let my mom and my sister be home. Please let my mom and my sister be home. Please don't take him. So I drove all the way home. And I got out of the car, and I went inside the house really slow because I didn't want anybody to hear me. And all I could hear was crying. in a room. And as I walked to get into my bedroom, I glanced at the room, and it was my mom and my sister on their knees, praying and crying. And so I knew they were praying for me because they wanted me to go to church with them and come to the Lord. And I didn't say anything to them. I didn't want them to know what had happened to me. And so I just went, and I went to sleep. And the next morning in the news, there had been a shooting in that place where I was the night before.
Wow.
And so I didn't give my life to Christ that day, you know. But later on, I was confused. And then I said, you know, I had a place to go. I had another party to go. And this is a few, maybe days, weeks later. And I said, should I go to the party or should I go to the church with my mom? And somehow I got to that church. I didn't end up going to the party. And I sat like in the middle rows. I didn't want my mom or my sister to know that I was there. And I sat there, and I had visited the church occasionally, and every time that I did, people will ask me, have you accepted the Lord? Do you want to accept the Lord? And it bothered me. It bothered me. So that day I got there, and then I said, God, I'm very confused. My mom took us here and took us there and took us all over different places, telling us that you were there. And I want you to tell me. I want you to talk to me and tell me if this is where you are. And I remember the sermon that day. I remember like that person was talking to me. Oh, and I did say, and I don't want anybody to ask me if I want to accept Jesus as my Savior. Before the preacher finished preaching, I couldn't wait for the invitation, because they would invite people to accept Jesus at the end of the sermon. And I wanted him to hurry up and invite already, because God had spoken to me directly that day, and he showed me that he was the true God, that where my mom, the God that my mom and my sister were serving was the true God. And that day, as soon as he asked if anybody wanted to accept Jesus, I just remember running through the middle of the aisle and running to the altar and just crying and crying and crying and crying, and all I could say was, God, take me right now. I felt so clean. I felt that I could die and I would go straight to heaven. So I wanted God to take me right there in that moment. You see, I have to tell you, when you know the love of God, when you feel the love of God in your life, you can never be the same. Never be the same. I have never looked back. I have served God with all my heart and all my soul. I have never looked back. And I cannot wait for the trumpet to sound so that we can be in his presence.
Amen.